to you. And rice is very safe. It's one of the lowest allergen foods there is rice. And if your family's not used to brown rice, you could do half white rice, half brown rice, and get them slowly used to it. But if the brown rice is cooked enough, it is soft. So ideally, if you're doing a rice cooker, say, 40 minutes I think it cooks, it'll go off by itself. Don't touch it for another hour. That second hour, that'll soften that grain right up, because it's like in a little oven. If you don't think it's hot enough, you can, when it's off, you can put some blankets on it and keep it a little bit warmer. Or even just put it in the oven, but it'll continue to cook, and that'll get all those little starch granules broken down. So there's your alternative to your oats. So you've got alternatives to refined sugar in your honey and maple syrup, palm sugars, they're not as refined. So for your peanuts, really all nuts. So instead of peanut butter, you can get cashew butter, you can get almond butter. In Australia, you can get macadamia butter. I don't know if you can get that here, but there are several alternatives that you can do. And for your alternative to your dairy, there's lots today. Soy, remember soy's okay as long as it's organic. Almond milk. Coconut makes a very nice alternative. There is rice milk. I find it very, very thin and watery, but if you like something a bit creamier, you can go to the coconut. So there are alternatives to all of these. We should enjoy our food. God gave us taste buds for a reason. So get some cookbooks and find out how to make them taste magnificent. So a breakfast might be millet with coconut milk on it, and maybe some raspberries or strawberries or blueberries, all the berries, or pear. And on top of that, in fact, we're going to come to medicine. We'll come to medicine in a minute. There is some medicine that you can use that will certainly help with the healing process. But let's finish the diet. We've done breakfast, so here's breakfast. Now we're going to do lunch. So what do we have for lunch? Ideally, your main meal is at lunch. Always a salad. Just choose the things you love. Also vegetables, they can be baked, stir-fried. I had a beautiful lunch yesterday. It was a whole lot of veggies just baked. That's delicious. And the protein's important. So the protein can come in the form of legumes. So that's chickpeas, lima beans, black-eyed beans, cannellini beans. I was talking to a lady recently, there's just her and her husband. I said, you probably only have to cook 3 legume dishes a week. I don't like to keep anything more than 2 days. So cook it this day. Yes, you could eat it the next day, but not the 3rd day. So I said to this lady, what you're cooking is enough for 6 people. So keep enough for tomorrow and freeze the rest. And after 2 weeks, you're going to have a lovely selection of legume dishes in the freezer. Maybe by the 3rd week, you don't even have to cook because you've got those excess in the freezer. Make them taste magnificent. You can get a vegan Indian cookbook, and not all Indian food is hot. My husband doesn't like hot, so I don't usually cook hot or hot foods. But I always have cayenne pepper on the table, so if you like it a bit warm, you can put the cayenne pepper on. You've also got soy. Make sure it's organic. Make some nice things with the tofu. And also nuts and seeds. They can be ground and they can be mixed with gluten-free breadcrumbs, grated carrot and onion, and made into a loaf or made into little burgers. So your nuts and your seeds. So there's your protein. Your protein's very important because the fats are important, because the membrane around every cell in the body is 50% fat. So what about supper? You call it supper? So supper, ideally, is best savoury, because a high sugar diet can feed the irritation from eczema. So even a lot of fruit can feed that, because fruit has a lot of glucose in it. So supper, sometimes all you may need is a herb tea. If you've got teenagers, you'll have a riot on your hand if you only serve herb tea at night. So for the teenager, it might be a smoothie. And that smoothie ideally is made with the coconut water or almond milk or organic soy milk. And in that you might put, what I'm going to be listing here as medicine is the chia and the flax. And the reason why these are part of the medicine is because they're high in an essential fatty acid called omega-3. And omega-3 is a very thin oil, and it comes out and nourishes the skin internally. So that's medicine, but it can be very nice on your smoothie. It can also be nice sprinkled on your breakfast. So you might have your millet or your quinoa or your rice, some coconut milk. If you want sweetener, you're best to stew up some apple or have applesauce. The Granny Smith apples, they don't really need, there's your sweetener. And then have fruit on top, and then sprinkle ground flax over that and chia over that. That's a breakfast that will take someone quite a few hours. And yet those omega-3s are nourishing the skin internally. And it can go in the smoothie as well, and maybe in the smoothie you'll put some pear or some berries, maybe a little bit of protein powder. For children, you want it light. For adults, you want it light. For the teenagers, they might want a little bit more, so you play with that. If the person has a smoothie and they sleep well, it's good. If they have a smoothie and they're a bit uncomfortable in the stomach, well, the next night we might just the herb tea, or just the herb tea, or a soup. A soup's great to have at night. You might only have to cook soup twice a week. Keep enough for the next day and freeze the rest. That could be just vegetable soup, maybe vegetables with a few lentils in it. So you can see supper is light, because when you go to sleep, your stomach needs to sleep. And when you go to sleep and your stomach's sleeping, then you've got more energies in the body to do the nighttime revamp, revive and heal. Water. Water's vital. Water keeps the skin supple. And the rule of thumb is to 50 pound, one quart. So that's 4 glasses to 50 pounds. So for a 100-pound person, they should be having 2 quarts. So that's a good rule of thumb, and that also helps to know how much the children should have. And when you have that water, also salt. So your whole salt, which is your Celtic salt. Himalayan salt is not far behind that. Over the day, little by little by little over the day. Just in case you didn't catch this one earlier, I wake up in the morning, I have half a glass of water. I go to the bathroom, I have half a glass of water. I pray, I have another half glass of water. I get dressed, I have an... Can you see what you're doing? By the time I go on my morning walk or my morning exercise, I've usually had at least 3 glasses. And when I get back, I have another glass. So I usually aim for 4 glasses before breakfast, which I can. As a rule, I wake at 5 and eat at 7, so it's easy. And then I don't drink again probably for about 2 hours after I've eaten, and then I've got a few hours before I have lunch at about 1:30. And then I have a couple of glasses after lunch, mid-afternoon, late afternoon, because if I have too much water, I don't want to be up at the night. So that's just me. And so I usually average, I'm 100 pounds, so I average 2 to 2.5 quarts a day. So if you're not used to drinking water, start slow and little by little build it up. So the 8th law is trust in divine power. What Matthew found is that when he was in debt and he had a family to feed and life was a little bit stressful, his eczema got a lot worse. So it's important to daily trust that God gave us this body with an inbuilt ability to heal itself.